Live, presented by Zoom. We're here at Warriors headquarters. It is Media Day here on a glorious Monday in Oakland, California. I'm Lawrence Scott, joined by Tim Roy. And Tim, Media Day signifies the start of something new. How do we tip things off here traditionally with Media Day, and why is it different this year?
It's different this year because of the attention that's being paid to the Golden State Warriors. You know, it's now a destination franchise. It's now a place where players want to come play. And let's face it, the Warriors are now a national favorite. They're a team that people want to be associated with. So the other part of the equation this year is that unlike last year and even to the most part the year before, this is a new team. We have new players, Kevin Durant, of course, the headliner, but there are a lot of new players that Steve Kerr and his coaching staff are going to have to incorporate, and I think it's going to be a feeling out process, and it's one that I think it's going to be very exciting, and I think it's one the fans can really, I think, kind of look and learn. We're all going to learn a little bit about this team in the month of October.
And there will be some preseason games. We'll talk about those as they go along. The first one is in Vancouver coming up on Saturday, and that's a throwback in its own right, going and facing the Raptors in a former NBA city. What are you looking forward to about not just that we got a preseason game here, but it's in Vancouver?
It's in Vancouver. It's one of the great cities, you know, in North America. It's great to go back there. If I get a chance, I'm going to walk around Stanley Park, and some great basketball fans. It didn't work out up there in Vancouver, but they have great basketball fans. I'm glad the Warriors get a chance to go up there, and actually also it's the first chance we will see Kevin Durant in a Warriors uniform.
That is certainly exciting. And here on Warriors Live, presented by Zoom, we will introduce some of those new faces. Just a bit, Zaza Pachulia will join us, but not just Zaza and Kevin Durant, David West joining the fray this season, plus a couple of rookies also in the mix. Patrick McCaw and Damian Jones selected in the most recent NBA draft. When you look at the mix and the core that the team has, how do you anticipate the new infusion will help with the overall cause?
Well, I think what's going to happen this year, unlike in years gone by, is that now when you add a piece like Kevin Durant, now you're adding a piece that is part of the mix. He's going to have the ball in certain situations. And I think for the other guys, having that young energy around, and still with guys coming back like McAdoo and Ian Clark, I think you're going to have that youthful part of the team that I think is going to give them that kind of energy. You know, it'd be great to see what Looney could do this year, you know, when healthy. So I think there's going to be a different energy about this team than what we saw in the last couple of years.
Well, Media Day, certainly with a social media aspect to it. We've got tweets and Instagrams, and
there's enough
so much
photographers
more
behind us.
A ton of photographers taking a photo of Anderson Varejao with his emoji face.
Does this happen
as well.
to you all the time? These photographers,
well,
they follow you
kind
around?
Of just follow us all. But there you have Andy in the house working with Julie Fayer from our social media team, and all of the photographers from the different media outlets also here today following along. And it's taken a very different form, Media Day, over the years. How have you seen it change, Tim?
Well, I think when I first started with the Warriors, Media Day was maybe some TV cameras and a lot of interviews with people with pads and pens, and now it's an entirely different experience. You know, as we're on right now and reaching fans who can't be here in person, and of course there are people sending out tweets, and it's the whole social media experience has changed the way we view professional sports, and in many ways it's a good way.
So we have so much to share with you, and we do want to hear from you throughout the day on our social media channels as we bring you Warriors Live, presented by Zoom. Hashtag GSW Media Day is the way to be tagged and let us know that you're reaching out to us. Again, that's hashtag GSW Media Day to join in the conversation. And we are on Facebook Live as we do this presentation right here. And as we go throughout the day, again, several different guests. I want to bring Zaza Pachulia out first. You're going to love this guy. You know, one of the great stories about Zaza that is so endearing was a couple of years ago when I believe he was with the Milwaukee Bucks, and they had changed the logo and the styling on their court. He actually purchased the hardwood.
That's right.
And sent it to his home country of Georgia so that kids there could know what it feels like to play on an NBA court, a really nice court. That's just so cool.
It went back to the court that he learned to play on, and they had not updated that court since he was a young man. And so it's such a great story. It shows you who he is as a person, and just another player that gives back. And I think we're fortunate right now with the Golden State Warriors because we have so many players who understand, the position they're in. They're thankful for that. They give back not only to the Bay Area community, but the communities where they grow up. And so I think Zaza's going to fit in that part of the Warriors story.
All right, so as we move forward with the day, we also want to talk about the West and the guys that will be taking on this team in the West. Here, we're seeing the green screen presentation where Elgin Cook from Oregon is getting set up right now, and we'll see various Warriors players who will be in camp and making a big impact this year. Elgin joining the fray for this training camp, and you're going to see a lot of things today like this.
What an exciting day! Obviously you want to see the stars. You want to see Curry. You want to see Klay Thompson, Draymond, Durant. But here's a guy like Elgin Cook. This is a great thrill for him. He's wearing an NBA uniform. He's in a media day. You know that even just doing this for the cameras, he's probably got some butterflies going right now because he doesn't want to make a mistake. But it's a great experience for a young man like this. I'm sure this is not what he went through with Oregon's media day a year ago.
No, Dana Altman does run a wonderful show, but it's a little bit different by the time you hit the NBA and a team that all are following. But as we're talking about the other teams in the conference, the other teams in the division, it's worth part of the discussion here today is all of the media have collected from all kinds of organizations, not just the newspapers and radio stations,
ESPN's here,
TV stations and
TNT's
TV networks,
Yep.
but you've got all of the ways that we take the photos that will live on throughout the year, and you start thinking about the larger conversation about what will the competition in the West be, what will the competition in the Pacific be, and let's start with the LA Clippers.
Oh yeah.
This is always one of these where you go into the season and say, well, for the Clippers, you've got Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan as your core. They have won 50-plus games for the past 4 seasons. They've been a formidable foe to the Warriors in their years past, and you've got a real discussion about what will the Clippers be this season.
It's interesting because if you look at the Clippers, they're a threat to win it all every year because they have Chris Paul, they have Blake Griffin, and they have Doc Rivers as their head coach. They just found out today that Paul Pierce is going to come back for his final NBA season. They're loaded. They're a deep team, and they are a legitimate threat. DeAndre Jordan, I think, is one of the most underrated players in the association just because of the impact he has on the game. So the Clippers are a team you have to watch out for. And I think one of the great things, and me being kind of the old school guy because I'm old, but the Clippers and Warriors have an old school rivalry to it. I mean, it's got an old feel to it, and it's really cool. But they're a team you always have to account for when you're talking about great teams in the West.
And talking about DeAndre Jordan, on that U.S. men's national team in the Olympics in Rio, that the Warriors were fully represented there with Klay, Draymond, and Kevin Durant. And you've got all kinds of excitement about that team. But you did see a different DeAndre Jordan, but you certainly saw the Warriors front and center in Rio. How helpful do you consider that experience to be for what we're going to see as we go into October here?
Well, I think it's helpful in the fact that it gives them more confidence, and I think it's also helpful that they go through an experience like that and see the entire world looking at the way they play. I think it's also good because it's kind of like an off-season workout for them. They kind of stay in their basketball mode that way. And the most important thing, everybody came out of it in Team USA healthy, and that's what you want. You don't want to see someone get injured in a competition like that. So I think on the whole, it benefits players like that. And I think another task we need to talk about is that Steve Kerr this year is going to have to look at minutes. He's going to have to look at the players and to see how he can find a way to keep them fresh. When you play in the finals 2 years in a row, that's a lot of minutes. That's a lot of time. We only had 90 days between Game 7 and today. So I think that's going to be one of the big, stories of the year is how the Warriors stay fresh.
So, Tim, we've talked about the new faces on the roster as far as players go, but some new faces as well in the coaching ranks. Luke Walton heading to Los Angeles to coach the Lakers, and in comes this man, Mike Brown, who folks know has, helped coach and lead men that have also won MVPs, and he's going to do it again, and he's wearing the shorts and suit combo.
He's dressed like your nightly news anchor.
He's got a very Lester Holt
nightly
look
news
tonight.
Exactly.
It'll all come full circle later this evening.
One of the things when you're a great team, and the Warriors have been a great team the last couple of years, what happens is that people come to your roster. They want to take players off your roster because you have good players. And they want to take coaches off your roster, too, because you know that they're going to try to get that Warriors type of feel for their team. That's why Alvin Gentry's in New Orleans. That's why Luke Walton is in Los Angeles. So what do you have to do? You have to bring a quality coach, and Mike Brown is that. He's a guy that's been a head coach. He's been in this league. He's coached in San Antonio. He's been with a number of different situations. So coming in here, it gives Steve Kerr another, vast resource to count on, another guy that he can go to in the heat of battle and get great advice from.
So Warriors Live, presented by Zoom, bringing us here to the team headquarters, and now the man that we were just speaking about as he joins us here on set, and we saw the photos being taken. Mike Brown, it's great to see you here. Thank you so much for taking some time, and wow, this is quite an event. And when you think of media days past and the anticipation for a season, have you ever felt an anticipation like this that's kind of given you this kind of charge?
No, I haven't. And it's been like this ever since I got here. Then in August, you could feel the excitement, the electricity in the air. It's been fantastic.
Mike, when you look at this particular media day, and we were just talking about comparing it to when I first started with the Warriors, which is back in 1995. But do you remember your first media day?
No, I don't. You know what? I actually started with the Nuggets back in 1992, so don't quite remember back that far.
Okay. But this situation for you, you've been a head coach in this league, and you know the challenges that come with that. How do you see your role sitting alongside Steve Kerr?
Just to try to support him in whatever he does, and then try to make him feel comfortable, whether it's on the floor or off the floor, with whatever he's got going on, whether it's X's and O's, player-wise, trying to foresee stuff in the future or take care of any type of problem we may have, because we may encounter them, which is a good thing. You want to encounter problems, especially early in the year, so that you can kind of see what type of fiber you guys have as a group in order to make a nice playoff run.
Okay, here's something we'll be doing throughout the day. It's exciting. It's a little game if you'll play it with us. Pick a card, any card. As you're new here to the Warriors, we want to find out just how well you know the Warriors players. So once we get the card, that's a good one there that he's getting.
There we go. It's a little stick. There we go, right here.
There we go. Okay, so let's see who that is. It's, there he is. Let's show the audience. It's Andre Iguodala.
Right there.
So Andre Iguodala, how well do you know Andre, Coach Brown? And we'll start with what former Warriors assistant coach was a college teammate of Andre's?
A college teammate. Wow. Former Alvin Gentry.
I'm sorry.
Alvin Gentry. No?
Andre.
What's that?
Luke Walton.
Oh, okay.
Bear down.
I'm trying to help Alvin out. Everybody thinks Alvin's like 60 or 70 years old. Alvin's really 33. Good-looking 33-year-old.
It's unbelievable what he's done thus far. And was here and then okay. Luke Walton is that answer. Now we're really putting you on the spot here.
Okay. I can tell you didn't like my Alvin Gentry.
I was a bit thrown. So. In what
year?
We
went to Appalachian State. It began with A. Same thing.
That's fair. Yeah, right. That's fair. The big A. So, in what year was Andre an All-Star? And this is easy for me because I've got the questions and the answers. I mean, as we throw them.
Can I get like an A, B, C?
Sure. It's most certainly A, 2011, B, 2012, C, 2013, or D, 2015.
2012.
Exactly. Perfect.
Oh,
excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
And there will be a prize for the participation.
I like it. This is great.
And finally, Andre was the 2015 NBA Finals MVP. During the 2014 regular season, how many games did he start during the same season that led up to where he was the MVP of the Finals? How many games did he start in that regular season?
Can I get an ABC?
That would give too much away.
Okay. 0.
0. And because you knew this, a DVD commemorating that season, and I don't know if you've seen our championship DVD.
Awesome.
But Coach Brown, come on. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry to put you on the spot. Now I got to tighten up these questions as we go here.
One last one, and it involves Andre. You've been coaching against Andre for years. What? Give us your scouting report on Andre, and what do you like about his game?
Yeah, the one thing you always feel coaching against Andre is he's extremely intelligent. And there's not really one particular thing that he's exceptional at. You know, he's good at a lot of different things, which makes him real dangerous. So you got to worry about him, obviously, defensively, you know, in a lot of different areas. But offensively, he can handle the ball. He can play pick and roll. He can post up. He can ISO. So there were a lot of different things that you had to worry about with Andre on the offense end of the floor because he does things just good enough to be able to hurt you, especially at key moments.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time and stopping in and playing the game. That was super cool. And we're back at it on Saturday in Vancouver. Do you think, just one last thing here, when you think about the opportunity to bring some NBA action to Western Canada, we play every year or so in Toronto, but have it back in Vancouver. Memories of Vancouver as a NBA city. What do you remember?
They were fun, and I was actually disappointed. I know the NBA doesn't care about my opinion, but I hope we get it back, Adam Silver.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Vancouver's
I'm
a great city.
Yeah.
And, I enjoyed going up there. I thought the fans were terrific, and the environment was great. And I was surprised that the team left when they did.
Welcome to the Bay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
it's
you
good
so
to be
much
here.
for
Thanks,
joining
guys.
Great to see you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking some time here. And as Coach Brown leaves us, we take a look at just the scene here at Media Day, and it is quite a scene. And you've got the players congregating at the very bottom of the screen. You will see one Javale McGee. You can see his head just there at the bottom of the screen. A very large presence to come here in the preseason with the Warriors. And yeah, you know, Tim, we've talked about so many different new faces with NBA experience, but JaVale McGee joining the fray as well. What do you think we will see out of his efforts here in the preseason, and what is important to see as the Warriors are looking to find some new faces at the center position, with Andrew Bogut having left the team and Festus Ezeli having left the team in the offseason?
I think for JaVale McGee, I think how he fits in with the club on offense, I think is going to be huge. You know, can he give them a pick and roll option with a lob to the rim, something Andrew Bogut did here for years. So now he is that on the offensive end. I think it's going to be important for him to fit in that way, setting high screen and roll. And on the defensive end, he's going to give the Warriors something they don't have per se on the roster right now, and that is a guy that will go after every shot. He's going to try to block shots and protect the rim. And if JaVale McGee is going to be a Golden State Warrior this year, that's going to be his role, protecting the rim, you know, when he's called upon coming off the bench.
And athleticism is not a question at all when you think about the NBA dunk contest. I'd say almost maybe it's 10 years ago now, the double basket dunk that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like off the charts. And he was a part of those Denver Nuggets teams, one of which, when the Warriors started making it to the playoffs for the first time after quite a drought since the We Believe era in 2007. Then they get back into the playoffs in 2013, and it's the Nuggets that had Andre Iguodala and JaVale McGee on that team. What do you remember about that time period with that Warriors team and the Nuggets series, how the Warriors got through a series with Andre and JaVale on that Nuggets team and then have just accelerated from there?
Well, it's interesting, too, because one of the reasons the Warriors went after JaVale McGee was on the advice of Andre Iguodala. They asked Andre about him. Andre gave him a recommendation, and so that's why he's here in camp. And I think for that series, I think that series was such an important series for the Golden State Warriors. One, it showed them that they can be a very good basketball team, but it also showed Andre Iguodala that this was a team that played for each other. This was a team that liked to play with each other. And so when the Warriors went after Andre Iguodala, which I still think is one of the most phenomenal deals that has ever been put together in the history of the NBA, and how Bob Myers pulled that off is beyond me. But Andre watching the Warriors and getting to see up close how much fun they were having together, and I think that changed the franchise. The addition of Andre Iguodala was that piece that the Warriors had to have to be a championship team.
And we've seen the center position take different forms. Now, during the last postseason, we did see a lot of great hustle and a lot of gritty play from one Anderson Varejao, who's just at the social media section over here just a second ago. But as we talk about Javale McGee, we do see him now at the podium with our Vice President of Communications, Raymond Ritter, there leading this press conference. And Andy speaking to the media, and you'll hear a lot of these messages. And we do want to say that as we do this presentation here on Facebook Live, Warriors Live, presented by Zoom, later in the evening, you'll see a lot of these interviews from the podium with our partner coverage on CSN Bay Area as Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area brings you their Warriors coverage later in the evening. You'll see a lot of these interviews like you're seeing with Andy and Raymond Ritter helping lead the charge. But Anderson Varejao and what he brought to the team, that's a necessary role to have that kind of energy guy. He did some critical things that kind of help push action along, but why is that role so important to this team?
Well, I think what Anderson gives the Warriors too is it gives them that guy that can handle the ball at the high post, and enables the Warriors to run things through him up top, and it's an important part of their offense. And I don't think we saw Varejao really get acclimated with that. You know, he came mid-season, toward the end of the season, and so I don't think he will. I think he'll be more comfortable this year inside the offense than he did in the past. On the defensive side, as you mentioned, nothing but hustle plays. He's one of the best in the game at taking a charge, and I think that again, he's another guy that's going to help protect the rim. And I think the Warriors are, first and foremost, obviously everybody talks about the three-point shooting and the scoring they have, but the reason why they've been in the NBA Finals the last 2 years is the fact that with that, they play some of the best defense in the NBA.
So we are anticipating Zaza Pachulia joining us here on set. And just before we look at the introductory video that we had when Zaza joined us here, just want to ask you about Zaza's role and what he brings this team. Some veteran presence, some grit, a lot of determination.
Very tough. He's going to bang inside. He's going to rebound. He's going to give a pick and pop. He's a guy that's going to help this team a lot.
All right, so when Zaza arrived in the Bay Area, he came right here to Warriors headquarters, and we were there to tag along. Let's take a look.
I think with my game, definitely going to fit this team, and the players can benefit from my presence and vice versa. Right in between two big boys, huh? I make sure they behave.
You do actually sign your contract just now.
A couple minutes, so you can congratulate me. Yeah, it's official. It's official.
So he's here with the Warriors now. Just signed his contract less than an hour ago, and you guys are the first ones to meet him. Let's clap it up for Zaza Pachulia.
First of all, do you guys know where I'm from? Anybody knows where I'm from? Oh, no. There you go. I'm from Georgia. It's right next to Turkey and Russia, two big countries. It's a small country, only 3.5 million people, so I'm one of them. I talked to Steve, Coach Kerr, and he told me that was his first option, and it was a very exciting moment for me. All right, you enjoying the camp? Thank you so much. You enjoying the camp? Yeah. All right, great. What's your name?
Dab.
What's that?
Do you know how to dab?
Yeah. You want to do that?
Yeah.
All right, good. It's always great to feel that you're wanted by somebody, and especially when you're talking about a team like Golden State Warriors.
And here he is with us now, Zaza Pachulia, and thank you so much for being with us. Great to see the day that you arrived. It's great to have you here on this media day. And before you came out, Tim and I were talking about really my favorite story in the past couple of years with regard to the NBA and players giving back in a meaningful way. The court that you had sent to Georgia, and thinking of the response you got. When you think of the kids that saw that court, an NBA basketball court that you had sent to where you learned to play What were some of the warm feelings you got from that?
Yeah, first of all, I'm again thankful to all the people who helped me to get the court, all the Milwaukee Bucks ownership, the organization. They really took it serious and helped me to get the court. And because there were so many people, so many organizations wanted that court because it's a legendary court. And so many great players played on the court. Watched so many great games, buzzer beaters in the playoff games, and so it's a special court. And obviously, once the news was out there, people were happy, obviously excited. But once they saw the court, it said that was totally different feeling, the atmosphere, and they were touching the court because for a lot of Georgia, obviously, they all watch the NBA. Especially as of today, you have so many ways to watch the game, right? The highlights, etc., on the internet, on TV, and on apps, you name it. But to see the real court how it looks and to be able to practice and play the game there, it's just amazing feeling.
Zaza, now that you're here, I have to ask you, how did you find out about the Warriors' interest? And I assume you found out through your agent. Take us through that moment, and what was that like?
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting summer for me, obviously. So many big names out there, trying to see where everybody's going and, trying to figure out what's the best place for you, to play, especially after coming out with one of the best years and fun years, for me with Dallas Mavericks. So, after KD announced his new team with the Warriors, then right after a couple hours later, my agent calls me then on the center position. You're the number one option for them. And, that was really great to hear. Great to hear that, forget about the financial standpoint, just, to this kind of team is interested in you, or you're number one option. So after talking to Coach Steve Kerr, it was a done deal already.
And one of the reasons we bring up the topic of the court as you come out here is to discuss how the Warriors are really continuing a tradition of bringing in really great guys who have strong veteran leadership and a great presence on the court and really combine so much, not just on the court, but off the court and in the community. And the question now becomes, how well do you know your teammates? You're just getting to learn them and know them, but just being in the NBA for so long, you may know them fairly well. And if we could have you pick a card, any card here with the Tim is playing.
We got the first one.
Roll here. The first one is, this was going to be interesting. Patrick McCaw, the new rookie from UNLV. Let's give this a shot here. I just asked you a couple of questions about Patrick as we put you on the spot here for how well do you know your teammates. And we're all just getting to learn this teammate just the same because he's a rookie. But if we ask this question here, in 2016, Patrick was drafted 38th overall by which team? Was it A, the Magic, B, the Celtics, C, the Bucks, or D, the Trailblazers? He was traded to the Warriors on draft night, but he was drafted by one of those four teams, the Magic, the Celtics, the Bucks, or the Trailblazers. And we can give you the hint that you also played for that team.
That's a hard question, especially you guys asking for the guy who just came back from Europe, right?
Hey.
It's media day. We're getting right into it.
About the rookie? Oh gosh.
Which team did you play with the longest?
Magic. Oh no, Atlanta Hawks.
No, okay. What was the before Dallas? Where'd you play?
Milwaukee.
That's
Milwaukee
our answer.
Bucks.
How many years did he play in college? That would be our second question.
How many years did he play in college? I gotta say 3. Is it right?
It was 2.
2
Okay,
years.
but we got one more chance for the prize here. Before Patrick McCaw.
Oh, it's a prize?
Oh,
prize, yeah.
When
What
we're
is it
not just like
guys should
putting you on
tell
the
me
spot.
that.
I mean, it's not the best prize in the world, but there are
It's a
prizes.
swell
Prize
involved.
is a prize.
Before Patrick McCaw, who was the last Warriors player to play collegiately at UNLV, and he played for the Knicks most recently, a fabulous pianist. You've seen him in the hotel lobbies playing the piano. Former Warrior, also from UNLV. This is a tough question.
Probably
is a
guarded
tough
him at
question.
some point.
During the 14th year, I'm sure there were so many guys.
I'll give
that
you.
guarded.
I'll give you the initials. L.A.
L.A. Anybody?
Sweet Lou Amundsen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but for playing.
You know what? He's supposed to come to Georgia this summer.
Oh,
Yes, he's
really?
supposed to. I hosted a camp in Georgia. It was NBA camp. He's supposed to come. We were all expecting him on new box court, but last minute he pulled off his name, and I'm sure he has some personal stuff to do. But hopefully he can visit Georgia again next year.
Well, we got to get the prize out
Yeah.
in this case, and your front court mate Draymond Green flexing with the bobble, the first edition. I mean,
Thank you.
do
Thank
players
you.
like having bobbleheads? I guess
You
that
know,
would be
I do. I collect bobbleheads, and I have a couple of them now. So it's gonna go to my collection. Thank you very much.
And the fans will be able to get a hold of the Draymond bobblehead on what will be the final preseason game for the Warriors, and it'll be at home against the Trailblazers in late October. But Zaza has it now, and that's an awesome thing to see. And thank you for playing. That was
Sure.
Before we let you
I'll
go,
be better next time.
how excited are
Perfectly
you
fine.
to get to play with Draymond and Klay and Steph and Kevin Durant? You know, when you think about that, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, you know, obviously they are great players. They have proven on the court, and you know, so many high levels, and so it's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun to play with such a great players. The guys who know how to play this game the right way, and they're going to make easy for each other, and we're going to help each other. So it should be fun. I mean, I'm expecting to enjoy playing together, enjoy being teammates, and through the bad times and the good times.
And as we get going here, I want to thank you so very much for stopping by on Media Day. We had the opportunity the other day as part of our Warrior Studio interviews to sit down with you for some features that we will have in the weeks and months ahead, and we're going to blow it out. I'm telling you right now, Zaza and I, we're going to have a special segment on Warriors TV that we're going to do, and it won't be just game show stuff. We will really dig into all of the exciting things that are to come. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
And as we were talking about here, as Zaza joined us on the set and won the Draymond Green bobblehead, we want you to know that on Friday, October 21st, 7:30 game against the Portland Trailblazers, the first 10,000 fans will receive the limited bobblehead. That is Draymond flexin'. Draymond Green bobblehead night presented by Lucky as the Warriors take on the Trailblazers is the final preseason game as we go. And thank you so much to Zaza Pachulia for not just playing the game, but walking off with the bobblehead that you, the fans, can get your hands on. And that's an attractive bobblehead. Do you collect bobbleheads? I kind of got into it a couple of years ago because we've had so many cool ones, including stuff like cross-promotional ones like Klay Thompson as a San Jose Shark. We had one just like that with Stephen last year in a Sharks uniform, and Stephen with his MVP trophies as well. And Steph is now out at Media Day being interviewed by NBA TV, and wow, 3 MVPs in a row. Is it possible? With this guy, anything seems to be possible. He's one of the most charismatic people you will ever meet as just a person, but his playing style has really opened eyes around the world, and there he is with NBA TV. Goodness gracious, Tim, what's to come here with Stephen Curry?
Well, I think for Stephen Curry, I think it was very telling when he mentioned to Kevin Durant this year that he doesn't care who gets the accolades, who gets the hardware. He just wants to win. And I think last year, I think that was the lesson coming out of the finals was, you know what, it doesn't matter what everybody says about us, doesn't matter how we feel, we have to win. And I think for Steph Curry, I think it's going to be a real interesting year. I think his game still has, areas where he can get better. And so I think, whether or not he wins the MVP, I think he's going to have a great year, and I think he will be a better player.
All right, what does your gut tell you, Tim? Playing our Know Your Teammates game, a brainchild of one Andy Fahey, our digital guru, and a big part of helping organize everything today with Daniel Brusilovsky, helping run the show here on Warriors Live, presented by Zoom. Daniel Brusilovsky really pulling a lot of the technical aspects here today together, and one of the big ideas was the know the players. We're going to do this with other players, don't you think?
I think so.
Okay, let's keep it going.
But I think, but again, what's interesting is that this is, unlike last year, the year before, we have a whole bunch of new players, and I think it's going to be really interesting to get to know them. I think it's going to be interesting to see where they are with their games. And of course, as always in training camp, I always try to, make sure that people know that we showed Elgin Cook earlier in our broadcast here, but there are guys trying to pursue the dream, and to me that's always an interesting part of the story, that there are guys whose names we don't even know, per se, but they're here in camp and they're pursuing that dream because they want to be playing at the best level.
And guys that we're getting to know and have gotten to know over the years, like James Michael McAdoo, who is joining us over here at our social media station. The Mac emoji head is right over there, and there he is right there on
new
site
haircut
with our Warriors
He's got a
digital
new
team.
Haircut.
That's good looking stuff right there. And
see, that's where the hair went.
Just
the hair went to
one
the,
of the
to
faces
the side.
that we have in the mix when players are playing the Know Your Teammates game that we have. Julie Fayer helping, as always, with our great social media presence, and you can get part of the conversation as well. Hashtag GSW Media Day brings you into our social media conversation here as we bring you Warriors Live, presented by Zoom. And this is a unique time for this organization to share a variety of stories, a variety of different ways. And I want to turn the conversation now back to the Pacific Division. We talked about the Clippers. Now let's talk about team just up Highway 80 with the new arena, the Golden One Center, and a new head coach who you know very well and talk with over the years when you were in Memphis and visiting with the Grizzlies coaching staff, that being Dave Yeager, and the new look Sacramento Kings in some ways are sort of a same look Sacramento Kings with a couple of tweaks. Matt Barnes, a former Warrior, joining the effort as well.
They have added veterans. They have added depth this year. They have Dave Yeager coming in. In fact, you look at 3 teams inside the division. Earl Watson will have his first training camp as a head coach for the Suns. And you've got Luke Walton down in Los Angeles, and Dave Yeager now comes over from Memphis. We know he's a good coach. We saw him coach for the Grizzlies. But, again, for Sacramento, it's DeMarcus Cousins. What will he bring to the table this year? And I think that when you have a player like that, and make no mistake about it, he's one of the most talented players in the league, maybe the most talented 5 in the league, top to bottom. And so they are a threat to make a playoff run because they have him on the roster. So, what Dave Yeager will do with that team and how he gets that team to play together, I think is going to be one of the more interesting stories in the league.
We're talking about the division. Let's
talk
about another
it be great?
team in purple.
Wouldn't it be great?
Yes.
And I've always wanted this.
What's that?
Wouldn't it be great if we could get a Warriors-Kings playoff series? How much fun would that be?
Well, that we were thinking at one point in the early part of last season that could be a possibility in a 1-8 matchup, and the Jazz are also in the mix.
Jazz are better
as a team that's getting better, and there are teams that are adding different kinds of players to their mix. And it's good that we talked about Sacramento. I was going to talk about the Phoenix Suns, but we will save that because we want to bring in a very special guest. And as we do that, we want to show you the day that he arrived as Kevin Durant, we know him as KD, former NBA MVP, joined us for the very first time. Here was the day he showed up in the Bay Area.
Steph and Andre and Draymond and Klay, I just felt like they just meshed so well together. And it just seemed effortless, It was kind of organic, and I felt that when I met those guys. And it seemed like a perfect fit personality-wise, man. I was excited. I got an opportunity to get to know them on a different level. I like that. Damn, that's crazy.
All right, my man, you're up. Official. It's official. Coming on board. We all can dream. Most of the time, the dreams don't come true, but I've admired Kevin, and as a basketball fan, what I'm most excited about is I get to see our team play all the time, so I'm just excited to watch you play. Yes! Yes!
I think it's safe to say Kevin would fit into any style. To be able to play with Draymond and Steph and Klay, because of the way those guys play. We have guys who are not just shooters, not just ball handlers. We kind of have a bunch of basketball players. So to add another guy who is so talented and not just a shooter, not just a defender, he's a basketball player.
just felt like everybody here just looks at the big picture of things, of life. You know, we got a short window when we look at our life to play basketball, and they all just want to have fun every single day. Just excited about a new challenge, man, and coming from Maryland to moving to Oklahoma City, to moving here is a big change and across the country, but I'm excited about something new.
That was a tremendous day, a real thrill as you arrived at the airport and we rode along in the car with you and talked for the very first time. And here we are, a super honor to welcome you here to Warriors Live presented by Zoom. Kevin Durant. And Kevin, as we get going with this training camp and here at Media Day, people are asking, well, what's important to get established here early? But to you, as a team, what do you want to establish early?
Well, I think early on for me, just trying to come in and just be who I am every single day and leave my mark. I've been a guy who's always led by example, and it kind of rubbed off on my teammates. So my first line of work is just to come in and work extremely hard and try to learn the system as quickly as I can and be the best teammate I can. I think once we all focus on that, it'll be pretty simple.
How much easier will it be when you have a voice like Ron Adams, a voice that you know well on the coaching staff?
Well, it's, knowing Ron for so long and kind of starting off in the league with Coach Adams is definitely helped me throughout my career. So to have another guy that knows me here and that knows how I play and knows my tendencies in practice, shoot-arounds, things like that, it'll definitely be easier for me. But I know he's going to coach me up well, so I'm looking forward to getting better.
When you were making the decision where you were going to play and the Warriors came in mass to come visit you, you said something that was so fascinating and really cool. It's like you said it was almost like they all walked in holding hands, like they were so in unison with like wanting you to be here. But now that you're here and we get this thing going, what are the vibes you're getting from the guys that you picked up some at the Olympics, but now that we're all together, what are you feeling?
Yeah, it's a little different now. We're everybody's here now, and same vibe, man. I just feel like everybody is a close-knit family and, so relaxed and cool, man. It's just been a good experience thus far.
When you get to a training camp, and this is totally different for you, this is the first time you've been in a different training camp. So are there some butterflies before it gets started? Anxiety maybe?
Not really. I mean, it always comes back to the game of basketball at the end of the day, and I'm familiar with that. So, everything else to kind of fall in line. Obviously it's new and different, but once I start playing and once we start playing as a team, things will start to go smooth.
All right, so it's time now for how well do you know your teammates. If you could pick a card, any card, Tim has it right there for you. And if it is you, we do know that you know yourself well. And in this case, a very nice one. It's Klay Thompson. And
bad picture of Klay.
one of the ones from the introductory press conference that I loved is when you said you weren't sure that you knew exactly that Klay had a phone, but he was texting you back and forth. So you're getting to know Klay better and better. And as we find the questions for Klay, we want to start with Klay made more three-pointers in the 2015-16 season than anybody else in NBA history, not named Stephen Curry. How many three-pointers did he have last season within a range? I'm not going to hit you with the exact number, but within a range. Where was he his number of threes last year, Klay?
350 maybe?
276, but 350.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And with Stephen with the 400.
Yes, 400 was so. Yeah, I thought they were right. At the same level. Obviously, Steph is a better shooter than Klay. Because he has more threes made than him, but he's on his way up there.
The two of them together, the Splash Brothers, now we're going to make all kinds of history as we keep going forward. And I want to take it a little bit back into his childhood. Growing up in Lake Oswego, what NBA All-Star was once a Little League baseball teammate of Klay's? You've played some international competitions with this gentleman.
Is it Kevin Love?
Exactly.
Very good.
Kevin Love.
Very nice.
So the prize will
nice.
be given out in just a second with just one more as we wrap up our three questions. Klay's brother Trace plays for which Major League Baseball team?
Dodgers.
Exactly.
Nice.
And with two questions right, a pair of Dubs socks, always fashionable,
Nice.
KD, but the socks that say
Nice.
Dubs, and I think they're about the right size.
Appreciate it. Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for playing. We can't wait to talk with you as time goes on and keep working with you as we go to learn more and more about you and share the stories with our fans.
I had a quick question before we let you go, though, about Patrick McCaw and you sent him a text
Yeah.
in July. Why was that important, and what were you trying to accomplish there?
Well, I've always been big on, rookies coming in, and it's a different show compared to college and high school. So, I'm sure he had a lot of emotions going through him as he got drafted, and also coming here. Right around the same time I made my decision to come here, I just wanted to welcome him and let him know that I got his back, and if he ever need anything. So, something I've always been doing with rookies.
That's great. That's great. Give him back. I love it.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No
That
problem.
was super awesome. And you want to see KD's first appearance in a Warriors uniform at Oracle Arena? Well, it is coming up very, very soon. We're in Vancouver on Saturday, but soon thereafter on Tuesday, October 4th, 7:30 p.m., the Warriors and the Clippers getting together here. It's going to be Stephen Curry back-to-back MVP bobblehead night presented by Get Fit and Kaiser Permanente, and the first 10,000 fans will receive this Stephen bobblehead with the back-to-back MVP trophies, and you will see Kevin Durant in a Warriors uniform at Oracle Arena for the very first time, and that was unbelievably cool. That was almost like walking into a comic book in some ways, Tim.
What?
No, just like we're in this thing where the Warriors are full of stars, and you're sitting here at our media day presented by Zoom with Kevin Durant, and we're talking, we're playing trivia games. You've had superpowers for quite some time as the voice of the Warriors, bringing the stories home to our radio fans. And actually, you know what? I should say, as we keep our conversation going, you do have a new radio outlet this year. We should talk to folks about.
95.7 The Game, and we're very excited about it, and going to FM. And we're going to be on a bunch of different stations around the Bay Area this year at 95.3 in San Jose and also up in Vacaville. So we're pretty excited about it. We're expanding our network, and it's going to be a new show this year. So they have expanded Warriors coverage to an hour before we even do our own pregame show. So, and then an hour afterwards as well. So it's really going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I hold to this, the comic book aspect of walking in and seeing superheroes that you're enjoying to see here with the Warriors and superstars of the NBA. And as we tell the stories all year long on our digital channels, one of the big things that we like to do is always have the conversation going with a hashtag. Hashtag GSW Media Day is the way to get part of the conversation. And KD doing a Twitter mirror as we speak right now. You'll see that. We are on Facebook Live right now with our Warriors Live presentation presented by Zoom of our Media Day, and really so many exciting things to look at, so many storylines, and great here to talk with three guys from the jump that are new faces. Coach Mike Brown, the new assistant coach, Zaza Pachulia, and just now Kevin Durant.
And I think, going back to your theme about this being a team that has a lot of guys who are very unselfish, they're great guys to be around. Kevin Durant reaching out to a young man that he doesn't even know, saying, "Hey, I'm here for you." Zaza Pachulia giving back to his hometown court. These high character guys are guys you want when the game gets tight and the game gets tough. And I think it's another reason why the Warriors have been so good, is they've had high character guys the last couple of years that have helped them get to the NBA Finals. And I think the other part of I wanted to say, Lawrence, is that you talk about. We're on Facebook Live. He's on Twitter. I'm on radio. We have Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. There's so many different ways to keep in touch with the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, it's tremendous, and it's changed in so many ways over the past several years. I mean, I remember the first set of assignments that I was a part of with the team goes back to the year 2012, and not just as a member of the media covering the team with NBC like I did for many years, but then coming into our coverage here with the team, 2012 draft lottery. And the Warriors keep the pick out of this draft lottery, which became Harrison Barnes. And because they kept that pick at 7 by staying in that draft lottery, we can explain the mechanics in a second, but it also played out to where Festus Ezeli was taken at 30 in that draft, and then Draymond Green in the second round. And while Harrison and Festus Ezeli have both moved on, Harrison to the Mavericks and Festus to the Trailblazers, Draymond Green's presence huge here. That draft was really key in stocking the team with the players that were so instrumental in the title run in 2015.
Really, those were the final pieces of the draft. And then before that, when Larry Riley was general manager, drafting Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and getting that backcourt put together, it was obviously a huge part of the Warriors story. But, it's interesting. You mentioned the lottery, and that was the last time the Warriors have been in the lottery. And for a while, the lottery was an annual occurrence. Now it's the playoffs, and I like that story a lot better.
KD knew good and well that Klay's brother Trace plays for the Dodgers, and also that he played a little baseball himself back in the day in Oregon with one Kevin Love. And Klay's story just tremendous. He's going to be honored this year back at his high school, Rancho Santa Margarita Catholic High School in Rancho Santa Margarita in Southern California, and we'll have some look backs at his career, not just as a Warrior, but as a Washington State Cougar, and then his high school years so formative, and his father, Michael Thompson, and the way that he raised 3 sons, all successful in professional sports. There's not many stories like that you could point to where one family has a father who's in the NBA and then 3 sons who play their own professional sports in all different manners, with Trace in Major League Baseball and Michael Jr. playing some professional basketball, and Klay an all-star and a gold medalist at that Rio Olympics this past month or so ago.
There are stories out there, whether it be the Plumlee family or the Lopez twins, where you have multiple siblings in the same sport, but not like that. And they're all good guys in the Thompson family. They all come out and they give a great effort. And the thing I love about what Klay has done with his stint with the Golden State Warriors is the fact that he has worked on his game, and he has gotten better each and every year. And it's a great example for some of the Warrior younger players, maybe a kid like Ian Clark, who was last year at this time, he was coming into camp hoping to make the team, and he got better as the year went along. And the Warriors are comfortable with Ian Clark on the floor right now and giving them some contribution. So having guys like Curry and Thompson who put in the work after practice, it's great. It's a great example for a young player like an Ian Clark.
Well, and great energy that he brought to the floor, and critical in the Houston playoff series coming off the bench. And we had a great opportunity to talk with Ian's college coach, Rick Byrd, at Belmont. The look is incredible. The social media emoji face, that's substantial. These media days have gotten bigger and better and more exciting in the ways that the players connect with the fans each year. And Ian Clark from Belmont, and he played with the Utah Jazz before joining the Warriors. A big key to some energy off the bench. When you look at the guys that will be contributors that the fans should kind of key into this year, you kind of look down the roster. There's guys like Ian, we're just talking about him, and some of the new faces, but also some players that we haven't really seen too much in action, just here and there last season, like Kevon Looney. But let's talk about some of these guys that are going to be coming off the bench and really making an impact on a very talented team here.
Well, you start with Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston. Those are your 2 veterans who are going to come off the bench, but I think this year that there's a story out there that's going to happen, whether it be Kevon Looney or Ian Clark or maybe James Michael McAdoo taking a step forward this year. And so for Kevon, I think for him, we're going to find out who he is. He's healthy for the first time, and I think that's going to be a huge key for him. It's been a long way for him coming off those surgeries on his hips to get to the point where now, he's been playing some 3-on-3, and he's going to be playing some 5-on-5, and that's when you're really going to find out where he is and what kind of a player he can be. I do know this, in watching some of his college film, and even on what was a sore hip at the time, he is relentless at getting to the ball, and he's one of those guys that when the ball goes up, he's not just turning and looking at the basket waiting for the rebound. He's going to where he thinks the rebound is going to be. And that's an instinctual thing, and it's the mark of a great rebounder. And I'm real curious to see how Kevon comes out this year and what type of player he can be. By the way, you notice on the Warrior jerseys, they're all wearing the gold stripe there with the number 42.
That is a very nice way to honor Nate Thurman.
Nate Thurman, exactly, who passed away this summer. Not only one of the greatest Warriors ever to play, one of the greatest NBA players ever to play, but one of the greatest guys I've ever had a chance to meet. So it's great. I love that little touch, and it's a great way to remember Nate.
And then just the 3 three things to point out with the uniform. Yes, of course, remembering Nate Thurmond and the legend that he was as a Warrior and in the NBA, and the quadruple double, just amazing stuff. But you also see 70 on the jersey, the 70th year for the Warriors franchise, dating back to when the organization had its roots start growing in Philadelphia as the Philadelphia Warriors. And then you just saw Kevon with number 5 on, and it does bring up a pretty interesting question here as you look at guys who are not Warriors this season that were Warriors. Maurice Spates,
correct,
is one of the guys that left to go to the Clippers, and giving some opportunities for guys like Kevon Looney. I mean, let's talk about some of the guys that did leave and where other guys will kind of fill in to the roles that they played.
Well, Leandro Barbosa is back in Phoenix. He's now back with the Phoenix Suns. That's going to open the door for Ian Clark to give him some more playing time coming off the bench. Spates is now in Los Angeles, and that's going to give an opportunity there for James Michael McAdoo, opportunity there for Kevon Looney, whoever's going to fill in those minutes. David West, of course, is here. We haven't talked about him. Coming over from San Antonio, the longtime Pacer and Hornet. So he's going to provide some depth at that spot. And the other guys like Andrew Bogut and Harrison Barnes are in Dallas. And so, Harrison Barnes leaving, obviously Kevin Durant fills that hole. Andrew Bogut's gone, Azili's up in Portland, and so now you have a new position at the 5. We met Zaza Pachulia, who is right now penciled in as your starting 5. We'll see the Warriors play small again with Draymond at the 5, and then again JaVale McGee, who we talked about before. But the core of this team is going to be those guys that we've talked about. Curry, Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant. That's going to be the core of this team, and the combinations, I think, for Steve Kerr right now are endless, and I'm sure part of this preseason is going to be trying different combinations to see what works.
Well, as we see Klay Thompson, one other name we got to mention is Brandon Rush. Ended up with
correct, Brandon Rush,
a team that's on the rise here in the Western Conference with the Minnesota Timberwolves and a head coach in Tom Thibodeau now that's going to bring a tough-nosed defensive approach and the Rookie of the Year and Karl Anthony Towns, and that team with Wiggins and the young talent that they have, they're going someplace.
Yeah, that's an X factor team, I think, of the West this year. How much progression will they make? Will they get into the playoff mix? I'm real anxious and to see how well they play with the new head coach. And just another good team in the West. That's exactly what we need, is another good team in the West. As if there are not enough of them in years gone by, but we get another great team in the West.
Well, let's go back to some of the teams in the Pacific. We've talked about the Clippers and the Kings, and the Phoenix Suns are the topic. We mentioned we would talk about the other team in purple, and the Phoenix Suns are a team that is building in their own way and has some really dynamic guard play, and they're figuring out the front court as they go. But when you see the challenge that they present, what is that exactly?
Well, I think if Bledsoe's healthy, they're a team that you really have to guard because they'll be explosive. I think the young man there, Booker, who played so well in the second half of the season, he's a real find. He's one of the best young players I've seen come in a while. He's going to be a really, really good player. But I think this is a year where they really need to, in their minds, take a step forward, and try to maybe compete for an 8 spot. But I think for a lot of that is, can they stay healthy, and what kind of a system, what kind of an identity will Earl Watson put on that team? And so, it's a very proud franchise. They've had a long, great history, but they've hit some hard times, and I think they're really looking for a bounce-back year.
Now, there's one more team in purple, and we should talk about them real quick before we talk about the games we're most looking forward to, but that's Luke Walton now leading the Los Angeles Lakers, and they've been drafting at some very high positions here and taking some really quality players, and as you see what the future here in the immediate sense is for the Warriors. The future is now with Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, and we're talking about the division and the Los Angeles Lakers, who these guys will face 4 times. And with Luke leading the charge there, what do the Lakers present?
Well, I think what Luke is going to do is try to establish, some of the things that he knew from as a player playing for great teams and what he learned here. The one thing I talked to Luke right after Game 7, and he just said the same thing over and over again. So many great people here, so many great people inside this organization, and I think that's what he's going to first try to establish, is that that his team gets along. He's going to be fine. I think Luke is one of these people that was born to coach. he just stepped right in. He had the instincts. He has the chops to do it, and I think he's going to be fine. But the thing he won't have is what you see right there. He won't have that, and
that is so awesome to see.
Yeah, and that's something that's going to be, I think, a force to be reckoned with. That duo right there, especially when you add Klay and Draymond Green to that equation, that's going to be tough. But there's also going to be a learning curve. There's also a learning curve there, and I think that is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. How the Warriors develop. I think there will be a period at the beginning of the year where I think there's going to be a feeling out period, and I think there's going to be some time where they're going to try to figure out what kind of a team can they be.
So that is so impressive. There's our team photographer, Noah Graham, getting the shots that we've been looking forward to seeing. Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, all smiles as they go through Media Day here. There's Dan Martinez, our Senior Director of Communications, who works closely with our Vice President of Communications, Raymond Ritter, to pull all of this together. A great scene today, great vibe. We have some preseason games coming up. We talked to you about the one that will be the first one at Oracle Arena as the Warriors take on the Clippers. And when Zaza walked off with the Draymond Green bobblehead, that was a game against the Trailblazers we wanted you to know about for October 21st. But here is the game in San Jose at the SAP Center. The first 10,000 fans will receive a Warriors limited edition bobblehead. Klay in a Sharks jersey. Number 11 on the Sharks back when? Was that Owen Nolan? Is that?
I believe you're right.
So
I believe you're
Klay
right.
as Owen Nolan in channeling the excitement as the Warriors
he looks like
come
he's gonna
back.
Dump, he looks like he's going to dump and chase there. He's going to dump it in.
The Daryl Sutter
just,
mechanism from
head to the corner.
days gone past.
Yeah. So
Klay likes it, yes. And think about it. Last season, the Warriors in the NBA Finals, the Sharks in the Stanley Cup Finals, and now the Warriors heading back to SAP Center in San Jose. And that night, it's an opportunity to bring in the bobbleheads, and a lot of fun there. And it's like, you look at all of the games that are to come. I want to give you three, Tim, to kind of ponder here. The first one is coming up on Saturday, and it's in Vancouver against the Toronto Raptors, October 1st. That tips off the preseason. The next game that I would ask you about would be October 25th at Oracle Arena as the Warriors start the regular season against the San Antonio Spurs. That's opening night and a big night to come. And then January 16th versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's the NBA Finals rematch on MLK Day. The Warriors will have played the Cavs in Cleveland on Christmas just a few weeks before that. But as we look at these three games, if you could sort of anticipate what you're looking the most forward to, and kind of touching on each of them, the first preseason game, the opening night against the Spurs, and then back home on January 16th on MLK Day against the Cleveland Cavaliers. What are you looking forward to with these games?
Well, I think for the game Saturday up in Vancouver, I think the first thing that I'm going to look for is just watching the excitement of seeing Kevin Durant on the floor, with a Warriors uniform. You don't expect much in preseason. It is preseason. It's for the learning. It's for the figuring some things out. But I think that just watching KD come out in a Warriors jersey, I think San Antonio, the opening night, I think that's going to be, San Antonio's a test. They added Pau Gasol. Yeah, they lost Duncan, but they had Pau Gasol. They're the Spurs, and they still got Greg Popovich. And so, that's going to be a great test to open the season. I expect a raucous crowd. And then, of course, with Cleveland on the 16th. I think that's going to be a game to point to. They will have seen the Cavaliers in Cleveland, as you mentioned, on Christmas. So there's a rivalry there. Those teams, as they used to say, they don't like each other too much, and I think it's gonna be a fun night. It's a healthy dislike in a sports way.
As we wrap things up here, Tim, this has been absolutely tremendous. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to talk with some of the new faces here with the Warriors, including Mike Brown, Zaza Pachulia, and Kevin Durant, as we take you all around our media day here on Warriors Live, presented by Zoom. Just a couple of more notes for you. As training camp begins on Tuesday, the team practicing here at team headquarters before that game on Saturday in Vancouver, which tips off the preseason. And soon thereafter, well, we're at Oracle Arena as the Warriors are taking on the division rival Clippers. It's Tuesday, October 4th, a 7:30 tip-off. The first 10,000 fans will receive the Warriors limited edition bobblehead that has Stephen Curry with the back-to-back MVP trophies. It's presented by Kaiser Permanente and Get Fit. And then that same week, we're in San Jose with Klay Thompson's San Jose Sharks special edition bobblehead. Part of the action as the Warriors take on the Sacramento Kings. It's Thursday, October 6th at SAP Center in San Jose. And again, the first 10,000 fans will receive the Klay bobblehead. So do get there and get there early for the 7:30 tip against the Kings. And then finally, as the preseason wraps up, we got Draymond Green and his Flexin bobblehead presented by Lucky California as the Warriors take on the Trailblazers. That is a Friday night, October 21st. 7:30 tip, and the first 10,000 fans will be flexing with Draymond. Some great bobbleheads in the mix here in the preseason, and this is it. This is exciting stuff. I'm really so glad that we started here and had Warriors Live presented by Zoom to bring the fans into Media Day this way.
Well, I think it's going to be an exciting season. I think there are so many storylines that we're going to find out about, and I think that there are so many things that go into making a day like this happen, and it's just great to see the guys here. It's very relaxed atmosphere right now, and then they get to work tomorrow, and it's back. You know, you play in the NBA Finals, it comes quickly, and so here we go again.
Well, thank you all so very much for joining us here at Warriors headquarters for our Media Day. This has been Warriors Live, presented by Zoom. I'm Lawrence Scott. He's Tim Roy. So many conversations still to come here as training camp starts up on Tuesday. And this has been an exceptional way to bring in Media Day. Warriors Live, presented by Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us.